Well, this one's going to give us a challenge today. This is a 2011 Yamaha Raptor 125. This is one quad I have never worked on or owned before. So the seller stated that this thing's been having some issues. He said as of right now it won't even start, but he said when it was running it was bogging, underpowered. He said it wouldn't idle. He said it was pretty bad. So he looked at it, couldn't figure it out, and then he had multiple mechanics look at it, I think a bunch of his friends, and they couldn't figure it out. So they kind of just let it sit, and that's kind of where they left it. He said he actually changed out the carb, put a Chinese carb on there, thinking that would fix the problem. He said it did not. They changed out the spark plugs, that didn't work. He said he adjusted the valves, that didn't work. He pretty much went through every piece of wiring on here, that didn't work. And he was kind of getting sick of it and decided to post it up for sale. So that's kind of where this thing sits. But overall, I mean, it's a nice looking quad. These things sell for anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 in my area, and we ended up getting this one for $500 because it doesn't run, because nobody could fix it. I think the seller felt that $500 was pretty fair, but we're hoping to get this thing running and driving by the end of the video. That's always the goal. So we are going to start digging into this thing, get this thing off the trailer, and we'll see what we find. Hopefully we can fix this one up and save this one. Alright, little walk around of this thing. I like the color scheme of the quad, looks pretty cool. Looks like the rear tires are pretty bald. Front tires aren't too bad. Pretty simple machine, not much to it. Yeah, not much to it at all. So if we can't figure this one out, I don't know. It seems to be a pretty simple machine, but we'll see. But right now, you turn it on, you crank it over, and it doesn't do anything here. It doesn't even puff over. To me, it seems like it's not getting fuel. Try the choke here. No, where's the choke? Pull the choke out. Pull the choke back in. Give a little throttle here. Yeah, nothing. So we'll see what we can do today with this thing. Hopefully it's something simple and we can fix it up by the end of the video. But yeah, let's go get this thing in the garage and we can start digging into it. Alright, we got this quad in the garage. Let's start tearing into it. Let's see if we can figure out the problem today. So first thing we're going to do is check the oil. Let's see what that looks like. I'm sure the seller replaced the oil before selling it. It looks brand new. Yeah, it's on the lower end though. But it looks brand new, very clear. So that looks good. There's no coolant, this is air cooled. So we can go right ahead and check and see if there's any gas in it. Plenty of gas in it. Let's get a sample from the gas tank, see what the gas looks like. Alright, looking at the gas here, looks really clear. No water in the gas at all. So that checks out. It definitely looks good. Another thing I want to check with the gas tank is the vent line. So let's take this off right away. Blow through that. There's no way. That's insane. I think we just found the problem. This is not blow through at all. That vent line is clogged. I think that was the problem. Wow. I think we just found the problem in like 2 minutes. So we're gonna blow through that. Because that's like one of the only things the seller probably didn't check is the vent line. And I always check that because a lot of people miss that. But look at this. You cannot blow through it. It doesn't blow through. So vent line is completely clogged. It's really clogged. So I can actually feel something hard in it right here. So let's just cut that open and see. Yeah, look. Look at that. It looks like a bug got in there and clogged the line. So it frees back up like right here. So just a little portion of that line that was clogged. Yep. So we can cut this open. Let's take a look inside there. Oh, it just popped out. Yeah, it's like that little beetle nest in there. Now it's blowing through. Look at that. So we found one problem with it. Clogged vent line from the gas tank. So this thing probably wasn't getting any fuel to the carb after a couple minutes. Crazy. So the vent on the actual gas cap can be clogged as well. Let's blow through it. Sounds good. So that is no longer clogged. We fixed that problem. All right, so that's all fixed. Let's go on to the air filter, check that out. I'm thinking though that gas cap being clogged was probably the main problem here. But there could be other stuff going on, so let's check over everything. This was off. Somebody was checking out the air filter. It looks to be a little... It doesn't look too bad. We'll take that off just in case. Could be something living underneath it. Let's see. Yeah. Air filter is probably the original one. But it doesn't look bad. There's no dirt in here. It's all oiled up. Looking pretty good. I'm looking at the air box here. There's some remnants of some leaves and stuff in there, but nothing crazy. There's a little mesh screen protecting the carb there. So I don't think anything's going on with the air box. That looks good. Alright, coming over to the carb here. Let's get the clamp off and we'll get the line off here and see if that gas flows properly out of the petcock. Go. There's a line off here. Oh, it's coming out. So it's flowing good. But I wonder if it wasn't when it was clogged. You can see it's flowing pretty darn good. And like we saw before, the fuel is really clean. Looks good, no remnants of water. So we're gonna do a little test here and just see if we plug up the line going to the tank, if it still flows okay. All right, we went ahead and clamped out the line here just to see what would happen if it was clogged. And I wanna see what that gas flow looks like. It'll probably be the same, let's see. Definitely not as much coming out. Oh yeah, look at that. It like kind of stops. Yeah, look. Huh. There it goes again. That's a really bad gas flow. Look, it almost stops completely. Oh, and then it comes again. And then it trickles. Yeah. I think that might have been a problem. But, to the seller's defense, right when you open up that petcock, you would not be able to tell that the gas flow was bad. So he probably never even thought to check the vent line. Let's go ahead and get the gas tank off here. Clip there. Whole thing comes out. Alright, let's see what we're dealing with here. So is this a CB carb? Huh, might be. Looks like a little bit of a nest in there. Huh. Alright, we can get to the valves here. There's a cap there for the intake, cap there for the exhaust. Carb looks like it's on there properly. Choke's working. Alright, looking at all the wiring. Make sure those are all connected. Yep, not much for wiring. Pretty simple, a couple of relays there. We can maybe check if we don't have spark. Coil is here. Make sure that's nice and tight. Yep, that was tight on there. That looks good. Let's take the coil boot off. Is it plug tight in there? Yep, plug's tight in there. Alright, let's take a look at that boot next, and then we can get that plug out. Alright, let's get the plug out of here. Oh man, that's on there. Pretty good. See what the plug looks like. I bet you it's white. No, it's really black. So I wonder if that's a recent thing that happened where, you know, the vent line was plugged up, because it looks like it was running fine at one point, getting enough fuel. Because if that was a brand new plug, it would be pretty white. So maybe the seller didn't put a new plug in. I don't know. But we can always check for spark too. Let's go ahead and get this boot off. Next. yeah, good wire there. Really good. That looks perfect. We're just gonna cut that back just a little bit, just in case. Coil wire definitely checks out. Got good wire exposed, a little WD-40 in there, just so that goes on easier. Otherwise you're gonna fight that the whole time. There we go. Slid right on. Twist that back up. Alright, now let's see if we're getting any spark. Alright. Turn the machine on. We're gonna crank it over. See what we get. Oh yeah. Really good spark. Yeah, very consistent. So there's nothing going on with the spark. That looks great. I was a little bit worried about that. But as you rotate the engine over, it sparks every revolution, so we're good there. Alright, so for compression on this little guy, anything over 100 it'll run, but we're probably looking for over 120 would be optimal compression. So we're gonna do throttle open, see what we get. Alright, here we go. On. Throttle open. Here we go. Oh, that's way over. 170 PSI and a little 125. That is really good compression. So I'm guessing the valves are probably fine, but we're gonna check them anyway just to make sure they're within spec. But yeah, that's really, really good compression. So far we have really good compression, really good spark. I'm still leaning towards that, that vent hose being the main issue here. All right, trying to get these valve caps off here. Let's see, crack it loose. Oh. See if there's oil on them. Oh yeah, a little bit. Not a whole lot, but see if those are moving in here. You can hear those clicking pretty good. So that one's definitely not tight. Alright, then same thing with the intake. You can kind of see it through here. There's the intake valve cap. Gonna crack that free. Oh man, that one's on there pretty good. There. Alright. So we might not be at top dead center because that one doesn't click. So we're gonna go down below and get this machine to top dead center. Alright, so that cap has to come off. These were pretty loose on there. Alright, then we're going to turn this engine over. Alright, so we're looking for either a T or a line here. I think I just went right by it. I think it's right there already. Let's see, looking through this hole here. Alright, so there's going to be two lines and then a single line. You want to go to the single line. Right there. I can show you guys. Looking in there, you can see two lines to the left and then a single line. You want to line up the single line with the arrow on the case right there. You guys can see that Here we go. So that's lined up. Let's see if we are good to go. This one should be loose. Yep, you can hear that one clicking. And then you can hear the exhaust clicking. So we are on the compression stroke. Just to make sure, let's see if the piston's at the top of the cylinder here. And piston is right at the top there. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but it's right there. So we are in fact at top dead center on the compression stroke. So let's go ahead and check those valve clearances. All right, so intake clearance for the valve is going to be 4 thousandths of an inch. For the exhaust valve, it's going to be 5 thousandths. Let's check them. Yeah, just scraping. That feels pretty good. From the exhaust, change it to 5 thousandths. Let's check that one. That one's a little bit big. Kind of hard to see, but look how easy that moves in now. Doesn't really grab at all. So let's adjust that. So these valves were probably ticking a little bit. Wasn't too crazy off, but there, let's just grab in there. It feels good now. Alright, so now it's dragging on 5 thousandths. So the exhaust valve is now to spec. That was probably like double the size it should be. Alright, since we've got this thing to top dead center already, we're going to take off this plate here and we can check out the timing. Make sure that's on. Skipped a tooth or something. That'd be something. Alright, let's see what we get. This just pulls off of here like that. It looks pretty darn good. There's a bunch of oil up there, so top end is getting lubricated. Let's zoom in here and see if we're spot on. So there's a little mark here. It's like a little arrow. And then there's going to be a line here. And it looks like it's spot on there. So you can see the line here lines up the notch right there. So that is absolutely perfect. Cam chain feels nice and tight, not really loose. So that all checks out. Well, so far we checked the compression. That was crazy high, 170. We have good spark. We checked the timing, which was spot on, and now the valves are perfect. So that kind of leaves the carb. So this is an aftermarket carb the seller said he put on. So let's go ahead and take that off and see what's going on with that. It looks brand new to me. So it should be pretty clean, but we'll see. We'll see if the stock jetting is still in there. Maybe from Amazon they put different jets in. That could also be a reason why it's kind of running crappy. So let's go ahead, take this clamp off, that clamp off. We have to get the throttle cable off over here, and then that carb can come out. Alright, that clamp is loose. And there's one here too. Going to the air box. Let's see if this will pull out of here. Clamp up here is still pretty tight. Might Might be better to come out this side over here. Try to swing this carb over here. At least to get that throttle off. That plate off of there. Alright, that's out. This whole piece can pull out of here. And I think we've got the carb free. I think the easier option would be almost removing the air box. Alright, this has wiring going to it too. We've got a wire here and a wire here. Okay, that disconnects over here. It can just get pulled out. Cool. So carb is free. Wasn't the easiest one in the world to figure out, but she's free now. Let's see if the throttle is working. See, it's looking good. All right, let's go ahead and open that thing up. All right, definitely gas in it. A lot of gas. Was getting gas. Gas looks fine. Coming from the carb. Take a peek inside. I'm guessing the pilot's probably clogged from sitting for a little bit. But we'll check it out. Take this bowl off. Take this off too for the idle. Ooh, pretty darn clean. A couple little pieces of something in there. Almost looks like old gas line, but that is really clean. Gasket looks perfect, bowl looks perfect. Alright, we'll take the float out right away. Pin looks good, float looks good. That all checks out. Here's the needle. Needle looks really good. No issues with that. See what the seat looks like in there. Really clean, really good. That all looks good as well. Alright, see what we're running for the main jet. Try to get that out. It's pretty darn clean. Let's see, 238 for the main. Right there. See if it's clear. Yeah, it's definitely clear. There's the needle coming through. We can check out the pilot next. Like I said, I'm guessing this is partially clogged just because it wouldn't fire up. There's gas in the bowl. Looks like we're running a 42 for the pilot. Yeah, she's definitely clogged. So pilot was just a little bit clogged, but that's just probably from sitting for a couple months. Little starter jet here. And that one is clear. 67.5 for that one. And then we've got then we have the fuel screw right here. So it turns out we are 1, almost 2, just a little bit before 2. That's probably gonna have an O-ring in there. There we go. Whole thing came out. Looks good. The tip of that isn't broken off. I'm guessing it's probably fine, just because it's basically a brand new carb. But you never know. And the seller said there was issues before replacing the carb, so looks good there. Get this out of here. Yeah, it looks brand new. But we'll check it. Kind of stretch that a little bit. Looking for any holes, any cracks. Really checking it over. I know multiple mechanics have worked on this, so they have probably checked this over as well. Needle is nice and tight. If that's moving up and down, that would be bad, and that would definitely cause bogging, but that's nice and tight in there. I've had Honda 400EXs where this needle wasn't attached in here, and it was bouncing up and down as you rev the throttle, and you'd have really, really boggy, bad response for the throttle, and it'd have no power, so, because that would be allowing way too much fuel in. But definitely bent. I don't know why that would be. Let's see if that looks okay. Oh yeah. O-ring's still in there. Everything looks great there. Try to bend that back. I'm gonna break it. You can see how bent that is. Yeah, but that checks out too. But that is for the choke circuit as well. So I guess we could just take that off quick. Doesn't hurt to check it since we have it off. Would rather not take it off again and check it later. So you can see it pop right off there. Got your spring, goes on first. Make sure these passageways are clear. Spray in there like that. Yep, that one's clear. Diaphragm here. And there's a little check ball in there that pushes down. Needle here and poke that down. You can see that's moving. It's not locked up. So that's working. So everything on this carb looks pretty good except for the pilot was a little bit clogged. We're gonna blow through that. And then we're gonna check and make sure that these are the stock jets for this machine. I know this is an aftermarket carb that came with it, so we'll see if they check out. All right, so I looked up the original carb for the Raptor 125, and I guess they use a Mikuni carb. This one looks like a Keihin copy, you can see. So these are using completely different jets. So I think the recommended jets for the 125 was like a 38 pilot and like a 145 main. We're running a 42 pilot, and it looks like it says a 238 main. So we might be really far off on jetting, or that's close, I don't know. But what we're gonna do is put this car back together the way it is, see if it runs good, and we can always change jetting based on how it runs. I have to hear it run first before I can even attempt to change the jetting. So we're gonna throw everything back together, clean up this carb, and then we'll see if this thing fires up. All right, carb's all back together. We blew through all the jets. Everything's really clean, so let's get this back installed onto the machine. This goes in through here. Then we have to shove this one through down here. All right, carb's all back on, looking good. Throttle's working. So let's get the air filter back in. This carb needs the air box completely sealed to work properly, so let's do that. In here. Air box lid going back on. All right, plug going back in. Gas line too. Check this out. So I think we saw those black pieces in the car because look at this. Hopefully you guys can see when I zoom in. The gas line's like coming apart on the inside, look at that. So we are gonna change out that gas line too. That looks bad in there. That would definitely restrict gas flow. Let's see if I can get these clamps off here. Yeah. Here's some new gas line. Let's get that cut. Like right about there. Well, let's see if this thing fires up. We know we have great compression, good spark. The valves have been adjusted, the clearance on those. The timing is spot on. The air box is now sealed. The carb is now cleaned out. We got new gas line on it. And we got the vent line for the gas tank unclogged. So let's see if this thing fires up now and runs good. The seller said it wouldn't rev out, it wouldn't idle, and it was really, really low on power. So let's see if we fix their problem. Let's see. Choke it. Gas on. Fired up. Fired up, she's idling good. Really good. Let's see if it revs up. Nope. Well, it's doing the same exact thing that the seller was saying. So it's revving out with the choke on. You start it up with the choke on, it runs pretty decent actually. You turn the choke off, it stalls out and doesn't want to rev out. So something's going on there. Obviously it's not the plug, because it's revving out completely with the choke on. Even with the choke on, there's like a little hesitation there, so I don't know what that's about. But yeah, it's definitely not running right, for sure. We'll take the gas cap off and see. With the choke on, it's running a lot better. It's a lot better with the choke on, but it's not idling. Turn the choke off. So choke is off. Oh. What the heck? And choke on. Revs out. Choke off. Yeah, it stalls out. So it's obviously not getting enough fuel, for sure. I thought for sure the vent for the gas tank would have been the issue, but obviously that's not it. Huh. We're gonna check our gas flow from the petcock one more time, but it must be something going on with that carb where it's not getting enough fuel. Maybe it's jetted incorrectly. Alright, we checked the gas tank flow and we're getting really good flow from the gas line here, so it's definitely getting enough fuel from the petcock there, so that's not the problem. Alright, we're just checking for air leaks around the boot here. So it'll change in idle if it's sucking in anything. Nothing yet. It doesn't appear to be an air leak. Consistently idling. So that's not the problem. Let's try adjusting the fuel screw out a couple turns to make this thing richer. We'll see if there's a lean pilot condition. All right, we turned the air screw out like 2 more turns. Let's see what happens now. Definitely better. That's without the choke. There's still a slight hesitation. It's almost like a 2-stroke right now. It's like but it stays idling and it actually revs out. There's just that slight hesitation there. So I wonder if that pilot is too small. Alright, fuel screws out like 5 turns. Let's see what happens. Alright, it's still pretty much doing the same thing, kind of where it's like, like it's not getting enough fuel at the pilot screw, and then as soon as it hits, like mid-throttle, it really revs out. So I'm thinking maybe that pilot's just a little bit too small. But we're gonna go 1 more turn on the air screw, check it, and then I might take it for a quick ride to see how it acts. But I'm pretty sure it's starving for fuel. All right, we're gonna try to replace this pilot jet, so just twist this carb in here. And we're just gonna try to take that bowl off. But yeah, it's definitely running better with that fuel screw out. I twisted it back in and it runs like crap, so it's gotta be that pilot. I already drained out the carb. Alright. Take this off here. .42 pilot in there, so we can try changing that out quick and just see what happens. Alright, this is a slightly bigger pilot going in. We'll see if that makes a difference. Hopefully it does. Alright, get your bowl back on. Try this again. Alright, bigger pilot's in. Let's see what happens. Oil's a lot better. It's revving out pretty good too. So that might have been the fix. We're gonna take it for a short ride, see how it goes. All right, so the pilot definitely helped. I took it for a little test drive off camera, and it actually runs pretty decent, but it's still doing like the kind of like a two-stroke where it almost like hits a power band. I want this to be consistent all throughout. So I think what's happening is we are lean on the needle. So we are going to see if we can adjust that needle in the carb and see if that fixes our problem, because I want it to be steady all throughout. Cap here. Let's go ahead and see if we can change out this needle here. So that should twist in there and come out. I don't know. Maybe it can't. Maybe it just pulls out. Yeah, just like that. All right, doesn't look like there's any adjustment on here. There's a little spring here with a couple washers here. So I think we could take off a washer and see if that helps at all. There actually is a clip position right there. Perfect. So we can just take that out. We're gonna move that one notch down if we can. Doesn't want to come out. Move it down to the last clip position there. Get our washer back on there. And what that does is it raises the needle in the slide and allows more fuel to flow. So that richens up the mixture. All right, let's get this back in. All right, we have our needle clip position moved to make it richer. So what we're looking for is when we hit the throttle, it's a consistent all the way through, or it doesn't go much better. It gets up to high RPM a lot faster. So as you can see, it goes instead of So that is 100% better. So changing out the pilot to make it a little bit bigger, and then plus changing that needle clip position to make it richer really helped this machine out. Now the throttle is very consistent all throughout, and you guys will see when we ride this thing, it's a lot more consistent. Before, like I said, it was like a two-stroke where it would just lack power mid-range and then finally gain power and go fast. But now it's pretty consistent all throughout, which I'm pretty happy about. So we are going to get all the plastics back together, everything back on here, and take this thing for the first test drive. Smoke at all. That's good. Top end sounds good. No knocking. Idling perfectly, nice and low. See if the lights work. Oh yeah, lights working. Well, this quad is definitely fixed. For a 125cc, this thing flies. It's really fast. It has 5 gears, so it gets up and goes. It's really fun to ride. I've never ridden one before, so I was really surprised by the power and the speed of this thing. And it's really nice having the electric start on this little thing as well. I like it. It's really fun to ride. So this one's all good to go. Both brakes work, revving out completely, idling perfectly. So this one's all fixed up. First ride went perfectly. Can't complain for 500 bucks. Well, we made it back home after the first ride, and this one's all good to go, luckily. So we got this one fixed up in one day, which wasn't too bad. And I think it ended up being a combination of things causing issues. So the first one, for sure, was the clogged vent line for the gas tank. I think that was the initial problem. And then the seller probably switched over the carb, and then we had other problems. So initially, I think the line was plugged here, restricting fuel flow to the carb, so it would just bog down horribly as soon as you hit the throttle, trying to drive this thing. And then eventually it would not even idle because it was losing fuel. So I think it was the initial problem. And then he probably swapped over the carb and started having more problems because the carb was jetted incorrectly. So a couple different problems with this machine, but we were able to find all of them today and get this one to run and drive correctly, which was a big win in my book. So this one's all good to go. And like I said out there at the land, this thing is a blast to ride, and it is extremely easy to work on. So if you guys are looking for just something to putt around on, this is a great machine. I mean, electric start, you've got easy access to the carb, easy access to the spark plug. I mean, the valves are super easy to change on this thing. The engine's small, just 125, and there's not much to them. Oil changes are easy to do. Starter's right out in the open, so you can change that if it goes out. So really a low maintenance machine that should last a very long time. So this one, I'd recommend. The only problem with it is the carb. You have the CV carb in there, so you need to have that air box completely tight. That air filter needs to be in there correctly, and the hoses going from the intake to the air filter need to be extremely tight with no leaking. And then obviously the carb has to be jetted perfectly. But once you do that, it's a great machine. So hopefully you guys enjoyed picking this one up for 500 bucks, diagnosing it, getting it to run, and then doing the first ride on it. Definitely satisfying finding the fix for this one. And I know a bunch of mechanics worked on it, and I think they just skipped over the vent line here, which could have solved the entire issue. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video, and until next time, we are out.